Siz başlayınca bir zaman ben start vereceğim toplantıya.
Tamam. Başlayabiliriz. We need 30 seconds. Then we will start. Murat Bey, I will be the moderator during the program.
Sure.
Kısa bir bekleme rica ediyoruz. Şu an katılımcılarımız geliyor.
Hı hı. Okay, dear Chairman, Mr. Kolbaşı, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues from Asian Development Bank, good morning to our partners in Istanbul and magandang hapon to our guests in Manila. My name is Aycan Damalı. I'm a Business Council Coordinator at DEiK Asia Pacific Business Council. Today, we are glad to be with colleagues from ADB for a topic which we consider at highest importance. Without further ado, we will start with introductory remarks. I would like to invite DEiK board member, coordinator chairman of DEiK Asia Pacific Business Council, as well as chairman for DEiK Türkiye Hong Kong Business Council, Mr. Murat Kolbaşı. Mr. Kolbaşı, the floor is yours.
Thank you, dear Aycan. Dear estimated representative of Asian Development Bank, dear participants and representative of public and private sectors. Good morning and good afternoon to Manila. And also, I wish you all happy Chinese New Year. By the way, today is Holy Night for all Muslims and happy Holy Nights for all Muslim participants. As a member of DEiK and coordinator of Chair DEiK's Asia Pacific Business Council, as well as Chair of the Turkey Hong Kong Business Council, it is a privilege for me to address you today. I would like to extend you very warm welcome on behalf of DEiK and Turkish business community. Welcome all again. Before delving into our topic, with the guidance of experts, I would like to briefly outline our working structure at DEiK. Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey, which is DEiK, was founded in 1985, and since then it has been monitoring and developing Turkish foreign economic relations. It has 99 funding institutions representing various sectors of Turkish private sectors and operates through business councils to work as a platform to access to global trade and investment relations. As a leading private sector organization, DEiK focuses on the opportunities, challenges to improve Turkey economic, commercial, investment relations with all international stakeholders like ADB as well. We are home to 151 country and sector specific business council, and 19 of them are under DEiK's Asia Pacific department. Under DEiK's Asia Pacific department, we also have a working group, particularly focusing on ASEAN countries, and which we have a one meeting very shortly last year in December. While we work with a country-based structure, and the approach of the business councils of DEiK are often involving a multi-layered nature and consist of different but complementary aspects. I am also someone who has been visiting Asia regularly, and after 1992, sometime I lived over there also, which is my interest highly. So that's why it is a really great day for me to talk about Asia again. Thanks to all of you. In line with the far country strategy of the Turkish Ministry of Trade and Asia a new initiative of the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. DEiK Asia-Pacific Business Councils focus on the opportunities to broaden the vision and accessibility of Turkish private sector towards the Asian region. Therefore, we put great significance Asian Development Bank and business opportunities seminars. We will like to have that kind of seminars more and more day by day. Here in our program today, our esteemed speakers from ADB will cover procurement processes, climate change, and sustainable development, public and private partnership, and how to locate business opportunities with ADB's regional departments, and the available means of finance. As part of program, we will welcome Director Procurement Division, Mr. Rustam Abdulkayumov, Chair of Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, Thematic Group Director of Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management Department, Ms. Noelle O'Brien, PPP Specialist, Ms. Rodlin Grace Miso, and Procurement Specialist, Mr. Talat Nasrov from Asian Development Bank. I hope it will be a very productive meeting, and it's going to be all for us fruitful meeting and all conversation. As a leading business institution, we closely follow the developments regarding to sustainability goals and transition to green economy with net zero carbon targets. For example, only less than 5% of water is reused globally. And it is a striking example, the potential for what else could be done. Municipalities, industrial representatives, local, national, and international parties should work for more closely and to ensure the development and sustainability goals. It all starts with the proper and efficient use of resources, whether it is about industrial development, procurement, and financial aid processors or scientific researchers. Climate goals, circular economy plans involving sustainable products and manufacturing value chains as an addition to more efficient supply chains, ecosystem, biodiversity, R&D, innovation, education, and training are some of the key concepts we all should be focusing on to achieve and framework for economic growth into positive improvement and friendly development. While Asia-Pacific region is the center of the future international economy, the region is also facing challenges that have caused asymptotic burdens on the poor and vulnerable economies. Climate change is a most urgent threat facing our societies is also likely to worsen the situation. Global demand for clean and sustainable energy and natural resources, as well as necessity efficiently resourcing of sources, are rapidly growing. Sorry, just give me one break. ADB is working to provide solutions to achieve a green, sustainable, and inclusive development and improve the available means and management quality of responding to such challenges. Quoting from ADB, in October 2021, ADB elevated its climate financing ambition to its developing member countries to 100 billion from 2019 to 2030. With finance and knowledge, ADB is supporting high-quality green and digital infrastructure by attracting private investment, rebuilding smartly, and closing the digital divide. ADB is strengthening cooperation with integration within region to enable opportunities in from development projects to trade and also health. As a representative of a business institution, first and foremost, I would also like to talk about figures. Between December 2021 and November 2022, Turkey's total exports to 19 Asian countries and the places under DEiK slightly more than 13 billion, which accounts to 33% increase compared to previous year. During the same period, total imports reached 82 billion US dollar, which makes 27% increase from the last year. In other words, Turkish private sector is looking for opportunities to balance our foreign trade with Asian countries. The number is quite high, and we are all working on it. Turkey joined to ADB in 1991. It has provided almost 500 million capital subtraction to ADB. It has also contributed and committed 130 million to special funds since becoming a member. Turkey contributes to ADB and AD development funds and technical assistance special funds as well. The ADF provides grants to ADB's lower income developing member countries, and TASF provides technical assistance grants to the help prepare project, undertake technical or policy studies. DEiK works with an multidimensional representative. DEiK innovated the project for green transition in industry, which works as a roadmap of Turkish industry, and also adopting the changes in climate goals, especially focusing to European Green Deal targets. This is also key indicator for the future of trade between European Union and Asian countries as well. From the USA to Japan, from the UK to South Korea, the green transition is global target and country that seeks opportunities on a global scale. The adaptation to this change inventable. Therefore, it is also a roadmap to eradicate the issue sourcing from the climate change. ADB is also accredited internally the Green Climate Fund and accessing resources from the fund support climate change action in the Asia Pacific region. As the representative of private sector, we need to identify profitable, pro-amortizable opportunities and to invest in global action that facilitates low carbon development. Asia is now fastest growing region in the world, will also account for more than half of global gross domestic products. Trade, investment by 2050, we all should be focusing more and more on the development in Asia. But while doing so, we should also concentrate to fair translation to efficiency development within region. Turkish private sector will be a reliable and powerful partner in this transition. Sustainable development in Asia to tackle the social and economic issues caused by recent and upcoming challenges. I would like to extend our gratitude to our colleagues to ADB in organizing today's seminar. I hope this seminar will be broaden our vision and serve a catalyst for our companies. Find out more about ADB procurement system and climate change financing, and you will leave this webinar with all necessary information on the procurement mechanism, binding strategies, consulting services as well. Eventually, these efforts will lead to more cooperation between Turkish private sector and Asian Development Bank. And I also hope we can organize physical meeting with EDP in Istanbul, and of course, accompanied by our famous and delicious Turkish coffee as well. After all presentatives, these will be session and questions and answers as well. Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participation and interest. Now, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Rüstem Abdülkayumov as the first experts today's program. So we are going to listening him first. Thank you very much for listening me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murat.
You're welcome, Mr. Rüstem.
Good morning to all our participants in Turkey, and welcome to our colleagues from ADB. It's my pleasure to do some opening remarks for this business opportunities seminar. And first of all, I would like to thank our colleagues from DEiK Asia Pacific Business Council and Mr. Kolbaşı for your support and participation and encouragement to all our participants. And as you know, for the last 2 years, we have been conducting this kind of business opportunity seminars virtually. And we see there is still very strong interest from business community, even if we conduct the events in a virtual format. Today's seminar, we are also conducting virtually, but now since the travel restrictions have been eased or completely lifted, we hope that we will soon start organizing in-person events. As Mr. Murat, you mentioned, we'll be very happy to organize this kind of event in person in Turkey. And if there are host organizations who are ready to basically organize this event, we will be very happy to work and discuss about the dates and topics. And also, many of you know that the ADB used to have a big annual business opportunity fair held in Manila. So the last one we had was in 2019, and we are considering to organize something similar this year, probably in September. We still have not confirmed that, but once we made a decision, we will announce about this event on our website. And of course, all interested companies can register and basically attend that event. So we will inform about that later. Today's topic of today's seminar is climate change and public-private partnership. We will also cover procurement, ADB's procurement policy and procedures. But what is interesting, just yesterday, we have conducted one seminar for companies from the Netherlands, and the topic was on climate resilience. So it shows that this topic related to climate change, climate resilience is very of big interest for our partners. So I will not be surprised if we will have more and more requests from different constituencies to cover this topic. And of course, this topic is not only of interest for our partners outside of ADB, it's one of priority areas under ADB's Strategy 2030, where we call it tackling climate change, building climate and disaster resilience, and enhancing environmental sustainability. So therefore, I think we will be very keen to cooperate with you and with the Turkish companies to move forward this agenda. So I would also like to share with you, if some of you are not aware, because that topic is quite popular. In October 2021, ADB has organized one very large BOS open to all countries, and it was on the topic of climate change and disaster risk management. It was attended by about 1,000 participants. And all presentations and video materials from that seminar are available on ADB website. I have requested my colleagues to share the link, and I think Mr. Aykan will share this link with all participants. So you can watch it at your free time and basically see what kind of discussions were there. because it was not just a one-way presentation, it was a much bigger event with some panels. So that would be just as a piece of information for you. And as we all know, climate change is a very big theme, and it doesn't focus on any particular sector or industry or region. And normally when we conduct this kind of business opportunity seminars, we talk about ADB's portfolio in different sectors. And we normally say transport and energy are two largest sectors where ADB provides financing to our borrowers. They're about 25 and 21% of total operations. Number 3 is urban and water sector with 12%, and agriculture and natural resources about 10%. But when we talk about climate change, regardless what is the share of these sectors in ADB portfolio, in all projects in these sectors, there will be some elements or some features that are aimed at addressing climate change challenges. So this is just for information of our participants, because if you are focused in one particular sector, still you may find opportunities which are linked to climate change agenda. And the same we can say about public-private partnership, because the PPP projects could be implemented in any sector, and PPP projects could also cover some aspects of climate change. In ADB, we have 5 regional departments, and each department has a focal point on the climate change. So therefore, I would say you could directly contact these focal points from regional departments, depending on which region is of your interest. But there are many opportunities for consultants, for contractors, suppliers in all sectors. And we know Turkish companies are very active in helping implement ADB finance projects. There are many consulting firms who are involved in the feasibility studies. There are many engineering firms who are involved in detailed design and construction supervision. There are many contractors who do civil works, and even there are very large contractors who implement contracts on EPC basis. So for all of these companies, I think there will be opportunity to participate under ADB projects. So I also wanted to share with you some information. I hope it will be useful for you, because we are observing trend both in the consulting market and the contractors market. And I just would like to share that now borrowers are willing to implement more complex projects. It's not just construction of one section of the road or one bridge. They're more complex in terms of components. And also because the technologies that they propose to use will be more complex, we need more kind of innovations. We need more expertise from our partners, so that we'll learn what are technologies available in the market and how we could adopt them in implementing ADB finance projects. And when we talk about consultants, traditionally, we looked at consultants who can do basic surveys and feasibility studies to design projects. But now there is more demand for consultants with a different skill set, big demand for consultants who prepare detailed engineering design, because in many of our borrower countries, sometimes there is a lack of capacity to prepare quality detailed design. Also, there is a very big trend in using artificial intelligence, computer modeling, and some new technologies to prepare projects and to implement and monitor implementation. And of course, always there is a big demand for quality construction supervision engineers. ADB is using mostly FIDIC contract forms for civil works, for EPC contracts. We see more EPC contracts. We see design and build contracts where employers basically require contractor to do the design and then implement this contract. We see more contracts on DBO basis, design, build, and operate, where contractors are also responsible for operation of facility for certain time period. So that basically diversifies the skills that are needed for contract implementation. So what I wanted to share with you that when we talk about contractors, it's very common when they prepare bids for big packages, they associate with each other. It's not just single entity. There may be 2 or 3 partners forming a consortium or association, and they bid together because each of the companies, each of the partners will cover different part of the contract. But what we see in the consulting market is also very similar. So because projects become more complex and the terms of reference for consultants also become more diversified, we see that even large internationally known consulting firms, they try to strengthen their experience by partnering with some smaller firms who can offer more specific expertise. And then, of course, there will be more opportunities for firms to win contracts. So therefore, just would like our participants to keep this in mind, because very often we receive questions on how we can participate in ADB tenders if we have no prior experience. And very often, companies do not have prior experience, not only with ADB, maybe they're completely new to the market where they would like to operate. But one of the entry kind of points could be to partner with the larger company, as long as the small partner can offer some very specific expertise. And this trend will continue. In conclusion, I would like to just reiterate that we value our collaboration with the business partners around the world, and we always want to basically step up our cooperation. And through these kind of seminars, I hope we'll be able to share some information that you're looking for. At least you will have a better understanding how ADB works. And ultimately, I hope all this knowledge will help you to submit bids, submit proposals, and eventually win contracts under ADB finance projects. So I'm wishing to all our participants a successful seminar today. And thank you very much for your interest. And I would like to hand over back to Mr. Aykan. Thank you.
Aycan Bey, sesin kapalı.
Sorry. We will now proceed with the presentations, but before doing that, I want to announce that there will be a Q&A session at the end. So meanwhile, please write your questions to Q&A panel. For the first presentation, I want to invite Ms. Noelle O'Brien, Chief of Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management Thematic Group, as well as Director of Climate Change and Risk Management Division, to talk about climate change. Mr. O'Brien, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Aykan, and good afternoon to the chair and to the participants and colleagues here at ADB. I hope that you can hear me loud and clear and no challenges. So today I'm going to talk about ADB's work on climate change and really give you a very broad overview. I think that some of your interests will be more focused on specific projects, so I'm going to spend more time on that. But I will run through some slides to give a background, and then you will receive the slide deck, and it will give you an opportunity to take a closer look at those. Now, let's go to this third slide, where we look at climate change and the disasters in the Asia and the Pacific region. So if we just take a look at the period since 2015, you can see from this slide that ADB's developing member countries really are amongst the most vulnerable countries in the world. We have had a significant number of disasters, and the frequency and intensity of these disasters are increasing. The figures for 2022 are still a work in progress, We have preliminary losses here for the floods in Pakistan, just under $30 billion. So really a very significant scale of losses, and we need to address these. Obviously, the two ways of looking at the climate change world is what do we do to reduce emissions so we can try to slow down the increase in temperature, and then what can we do to help countries and communities and the infrastructure to adapt to the changing situation. Moving to the next slide, let's look at some of ADB's high-level climate change commitments. So ADB is working as Asia and the Pacific's climate bank. And as such, we have significantly increased our commitments on climate change up to 2030. I think your chair already made reference to this, where we have made and indicated an ambition of 100 billion between the periods of 2019 and 2030. So this is the fact that ADB's lending and grant financing to our developing member countries would include at least $100 billion of funding that is counted as climate finance. We have been on average delivering about 5 billion a year so far, but we will need to average more than 10 or 11 billion a year from 2025 onwards if we are to reach that level of ambition. We need a big scale up in finance for adaptation and resilience. We need a big increase in private sector climate change, and also we need to make sure that all of our projects are Paris aligned. And our intent is that all of our sovereign operations are Paris aligned by the 1st of July 2023, and at least 85% of our non-sovereign operations are aligned by 2023 also, and with the 100% aligned by 2025. Moving to the next slide, just a little address the fact that ADB looks at climate change at a number of levels when we talk about scaling up climate action. We look at the upstream level, which involves rigorous diagnostics on climate change and disaster risk management. It means engaging with our DMCs to shape legal, regulatory, and policy work, and then also influencing ADB's country partnership strategy, which sets the agenda for ADB's work with countries for a 5-year period. We're also involved in the area of climate change policy-based lending. For our midstream level, it means translating the climate planning into national budget cycles and government national and development plans. And then at our downstream level, this is where distinct projects and the activities that we intend to support and catalyze come in. Now, moving along, coming to the slide, which gives us a look at ADB's approach to mobilizing climate finance. So the slide is quite packed, but my intention here is to not go through it all, but just look at what ADB does to mobilize climate finance above and beyond our regular financing. We are dealing with a market failure for climate change, where the private cost to emitting is lower than the social cost. And although carbon pricing is one way around this, we're not there yet. So from our perspective, we find it very important to mobilize not just financing, but more concessional and grant financing, and which we can then use to subsidize or to de-risk investments that promote climate action. And so ADB is always looking for ways to make our lending more concessional. Now, moving on to the next slide, we will just look at two examples of concessional resources. One is the Climate Investment Funds, and this provides large-scale, low-cost, and long-term financial solutions to support countries achieve their climate objectives. These funds are dedicated to flowing climate finance through the MDBs, and ADB is responsible for administering about half of the CIF funds in ADB's region. Most of this has come from the sovereign side, but we also expect the non-sovereign side to continue to grow in importance. Also, a lot of the focus has been on mitigation, but we do expect to see growth in adaptation finance also. The Green Climate Fund is another big source of concessional climate finance. It is a critical element of the Paris Agreement. It is the world's largest climate fund, and it is mandated to support developing countries raise their concessional climate finance and to realize their nationally determined contributions towards low emissions and climate resilient. And currently, ADB administers almost 1 billion in GCF funding. We are working to renew our agreement with the GCF, and we do hope to expand that in the next year with additional submissions to the GCF. Now, moving along to the next slide, there's quite a lot of work that ADB is doing on carbon markets. We are mobilizing carbon finance for incentivizing investments in low carbon technologies. We have, within this, we have an existing fund, the Future Carbon Fund, which is coming to an end, and in the process of launching a new fund, the CACF, but we also delivered the Japan Fund for the Joint Crediting Mechanism. And then we have a number of areas of technical capacity support for Article 6 and carbon markets. Now, moving along to the slide on the ETM. I hope you can see that. Yes. So ETM is ADB's energy transition mechanism. ADB recognizes that coal-fired power plants account for nearly 30% of the global carbon dioxide emissions. And according to the International Energy Agency, phasing out unabated coal is a really important lever to decarbonize the global economy in line with the 1.5. So ADB has taken an initiative to raise finance, both public and private capital, to help accelerate the retirement or repurposing of coal-fired plants. And we're currently working with 3 of our member governments, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Vietnam, to pilot this process. We are more progressed mainly in Indonesia with a pilot project getting underway. We also work very closely on the question of just transition along with this, because obviously the implications for livelihoods that will come with any coal retirement and any slowdown in coal mining is very substantial and an important part of getting support for the transition. Moving on to the next slide, the finance sector, ADB has a whole range of innovative and transformative climate finance initiatives. We're involved in green financing with green banks. We have greenhouse green housing financing, so green loans for things like heating and cooling systems, solar panels, insulation, and energy efficiency. We also have blue financing involved with initiatives in ocean health and ocean resilience. Also involved in resilient infrastructure financing, and then also with agricultural supply and value chains, and finally, our disaster risk financing. And we're using a diverse range of instruments as part of this process. Now, the ADB's private sector operations, it's another part of the story, and we have a very ambitious private sector program with important targets. We aim to have 12 billion of ADB's own financing focused on private sector, and the expectation is that that will leverage 18 to 30 billion of private sector finance. And this will be delivered through loans and other debt instruments, equity investments, guarantees, loan syndication, and technical assistance. And the kind of examples you'll see here is climate finance for infrastructure with 144 megawatt wind farm in Vietnam, helping increase Vietnam's wind power capacity by 30%. And so that is a very important part of our work. Now, I'll just move on and share with you some examples. So if we can come down through the slides, you will see that ADB is delivering on its climate finance agenda. We work very, very closely with our sector teams to maximize the climate finance opportunities in all our investments. Currently, 62% of all investments have a climate component, and in 2022, we've achieved in the region of 6.7 billion of climate finance. Transport accounts for a very large portion of this, and we have about 38% of the financing is adaptation focused. Now, moving to the next slide, I just wanted to show you some examples of the kinds of projects that you can expect to see coming through the pipeline. I have 4 examples here, which you can find on ADB's website. In the city of Davao, in the southern Philippines, we committed finance for the public transport modernization project, and this is establishing a modern urban bus system in Davao City. Also, in Lao PDR, we have a wind power project. It's investing in a 600 megawatt capacity wind power plant to be constructed in Laos, but with the export and sale of electricity into the neighboring country of Vietnam. We have an energy transition sector program in Cambodia. It combines $50 million in policy-based loan with a package of 23 million in project investments to support the energy transition in Cambodia. And then lastly, the second project on the list was the China project in Gansu, environmentally sustainable rural revitalization and development project, which involves a combination of low carbon and environmentally sustainable rural development models. So where we're here focused on renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and high-level technology. Some other examples on the next slide, you will see that we have the Chennai Metro Rail project. This is a $780 million facility to build new lines and improve the connectivity of the metro rail system in Chennai, the capital of Tamil Nadu state in India. So that's another opportunity. And then also we have the Southern Commuter Railway project in the Philippines, an extremely large investment for ADB. This is the construction of almost 55 kilometers of modern suburban rail line connecting Metro Manila with surrounding areas and the whole commuter belt for the Philippines' largest city. My next slide looks at examples of scaling up adaptation. So we have two examples here. The first one is an investment just under $1 million, where we focused on an analysis, a multi-hazard disaster risk assessment on the island of Tonga Tapu in the Pacific to help us understand the long-term risks from extreme weather events, but also sea level rise and other geophysical hazards for the Pacific state of Tonga. This kind of analysis was also undertaken for the second example, which is a type 2 adaptation project in Bangladesh. This is an example of where we are working with 22 towns in 10 coastal districts to improve the livability of selected vulnerable coastal towns. We're working to strengthen their resilience to climate and disaster and enhancing ability to anticipate and recover from the impacts of climate shocks. And lastly, we have our Community Resilience Partnership Project, which gives you examples of work that we are doing to enhance adaptation at a local level, but also at a community level, with a focus on non-infrastructure sectors, but also very much on addressing the nexus between poverty, gender, and climate. And that's a growing program that we will be working on. And then the last, or some other examples from the Pacific, again, giving you indications of the pipeline. We have the Kiribati South Tarawa Water Supply Project. This brings together funding from the ADB, the GCF, the World Bank, and the government of Kiribati. And it's improving water supply by constructing desalination plants and distribution pipes, which are supported by solar PV. The small state of Nauru is extremely vulnerable because of the challenges of accessing the port, and we are working on the construction of a port upgrade, which will allow year-round operations. And lastly, again, is a renewable energy project in the country of Tonga, where ADB's focus has been on large battery energy storage capacity to help store power that can be used overnight without negatively affecting the grids. So those are all examples of projects in the pipeline. And then the last slide here is in the additional countries of Central Asia and Mongolia. And you'll see examples where in Tajikistan, reconnection to the Central Asian power system has been one project. Then in Kazakhstan, solar and investment. In Kyrgyzstan, hydropower plant modernization. Uzbekistan, solar public-private partnership investment. Azerbaijan, also solar, and then again, Uzbekistan wind power project. And then in Mongolia, we also have a range of energy projects, renewable energy, storage projects are all part of the work. So these projects are all available on our website. As I've indicated earlier, we will be continuing to grow the investments that we have in climate change And if you have specific questions, I will be here after the next presentations, but also happy to give some additional information over email if that would be helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien, for such an extensive presentation. Lots of information to digest and study. Now we are moving on to the next round, which will be about business opportunities. We will start with Ms. Rodelyn Grace Miso, a PPFD specialist. She will be talking about public-private partnership processes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And good afternoon to my colleagues in Manila. Let me share my slides. Okay, so I think it's on now. And can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. My name is Grace Miso. I am from the Office of Public-Private Partnership here in ADB, and I'm really glad to be invited to speak with everyone here about the work that we do, and we're excited for the possibility for us to work with you on some of our projects. So maybe first, let me introduce you to our department. Yeah. So OPPP, we were established in ADB to enhance the role of ADB in supporting and enabling governments for our developing members to catalyze public and private capital investment for development purposes and generate economic growth in Asia and the Pacific. So specifically, we provide transaction advisory services to deliver bankable PPP projects. We also coordinate and support the development and implementation of the effective enabling environments in which PPPs can operate. Later on, I will provide some concrete examples on how we do this. So to help facilitate this work, we manage also the Asia Pacific Project Preparation Facility, or AP3F. And this also helps us create premier knowledge products and provide some technical assistance to our government clients. OPP's current work includes projects on smart cities, digital infrastructure. We have a growing portfolio of renewable energy projects, urban transport, water, sanitation, and waste management. We also have projects on the social sector like health services and education, and even elderly care. And we are also helping our developing members deal with the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. So as you can see here, we have a very strong track record of projects across several sectors that I've just mentioned. Most of these projects are pathfinder or landmark projects in their respective countries or sectors. We've become a trusted advisor to governments who are our main clients, and we make sure to offer them a customized and holistic approach depending on their specific needs. We are a relatively small team, but we count on help from other team members, which we gather from consultants, for example, to help us deliver the work that we do. So how do we deliver the work that we do? We are guided by 4 pillars, as shown in the slide. The first 2 pillars, this is on the macro and the policy level. So this is more for us to help advocate for PPPs in the country. We help build capacity among the government, ministries, even local governments if they're interested. What are PPPs? How do we do PPPs? So we do the training for them and we help them on that. Pillar 2 is more on legal support, more on the policies and the enabling environment for PPPs to prosper in the country. So in some of the countries also, there is no PPP unit or center, which we feel is a must to help coordinate activities and the overall PPP program. So we also help governments establish that. So in terms of opportunities, I think for pillars 1 and 2, we work with consultants, either firms or individuals that have PPP expertise as well, PPP experience, but also legal expertise. So we bring that as part of our team. We bring them into our team, and together we work with the governments to achieve these goals. So moving on to the micro or project level, we have Pillar 3 and Pillars 4. So Pillar 3 is more project development. This is the transaction advisory services that I mentioned earlier. So we assist in the development of Pathfinder projects. So this includes structuring the project, so project preparation, feasibility studies, technical legal due diligence, and we also help with the tendering process. So we develop with the client the procurement documents. Sometimes we are requested also to be there with the client up to financial close. So we're happy to do that for the government as well. So for here, we also hire consultants to help us. Specifically, we always have a legal team with us, but we also have technical people or a technical firm. So if we're doing, for example, a solar project, we have a consulting firm really who helps us prepare the feasibility study, but also once the tender is ongoing, they help us develop the procurement documents, especially when there are specifications or inputs that are very specific to the technology, to the sector. We lean on them for that support. In some cases, there are also, I have worked on non-consultancy services or goods and services types of contracts. And this relates to when we need some baseline studies or when we're doing data gathering for certain projects. We are in need for, say, services of a lab, services of an installation of sensors or some sort of technology. So that kind of innovation is something that we try to bring into our work, because when we work with the government, when they go to us for advice, we try to give them what is already the best in the sector, the newest, the latest technology. So we're always on the lookout for innovation, new ideas, new ways of doing things, and we try to bring them into the project. So that would be interesting, and we hope that this seminar, some ideas are brought forth. So the next step or the next level would be the Pillar 4, and this is when we've reached financial close and we're actually catalyzing and bringing in the actual investment into the project. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes we are there with the government to help them deal with the lenders or with the winning bidder to finalize the documentation. So here we do have some consultancy services hired, mostly on the legal side as well. But I have also seen that in some complex projects, we hire technical people to help on any technical matters that may arise after the contract has been signed. So that is the whole breadth of the work that we do. And I hope this also gives everyone a snapshot of the different opportunities and different ways that we can work with consulting firms and consulting individuals. So this slide shows you a snapshot of our portfolio. So the left side, we've seen the completed projects that we've done by region and by sector. What might be interesting for everyone now is the right side, which shows the projects that are under implementation. So the first circle that you see is, you will see that about 40% of our work is in the Central and West Asia region and 40% in the Southeast Asian region. So a lot of our work is there. We are building more projects in other countries. And so we hope that maybe in the next few years, this chart will change a little bit. In terms of sector, we see a lot of our work to be done now in energy. And as our previous speakers have mentioned, climate change is a big deal. It is a top priority, not just for ADB, but for our government clients. So we see that also in the sectors that we work in. Energy is a huge part. We have a lot of solar projects going on. We're exploring other forms of renewable energy as well. The second biggest sector, as you will see, is water and urban. And this actually relates to mostly wastewater treatment, recycling water. And I think Mr. Murat mentioned this earlier, that less than 5% of water is being recycled all over the world. So we hope to improve those numbers with our projects. So the third sector we see here is transport. Again, this is also the government's response to one of the government responses to climate change. I will mention a little bit later on transport sector projects that we are working on. So here is just a distribution of the ongoing AP3F projects we have. On the Central Asia side, we have projects in Kazakhstan. We have a lot of projects in Uzbekistan. We have in Georgia as well, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Pakistan. We have one also in Maldives. We have a very interesting solar project there. And we have our road project in Bangladesh. So on the other side of Asia, we're heavy in the Philippines, as you can see, but we also have other projects in Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea, Palau, another solar project, and Vietnam. So if you're interested in a market and there is no dot or no project here, please don't worry. This slide just shows those that we have active mandates. That doesn't mean that we're not working on business development in other countries. We are actually, but so this slide will be updated perhaps in the next webinar that we will attend. Let me go on to the specific projects that we are working on. So the first project that I would like to highlight, this is just I've selected just a few projects just to show a sample. The first one is the Uzbekistan solar PPP program. We have been mandated by the government of Uzbekistan to deliver 1 gigawatt of solar power plants for them. We are doing this in 4 phases. The first has been awarded already, and this was in the Sharabad region. What is ongoing right now is phase 2, and this is in Guzar. So Guzar in Kashkadarya, and this is 300 megawatts. Right now, it's already in the RFP phase, which means we're expecting to receive bids perhaps by first quarter. So this is an exciting time for us. For phase 3 and 4, which is the last 2 projects to round out the 1 gigawatt, we expect that this will be launched soon. So perhaps this quarter or at the very latest is next quarter. So in this kind of project, as I mentioned earlier, what is ADB support? What is OPPP support? We help them prepare the feasibility study, and there we have the help of consultants who are solar experts. But not just that, we have consultants who do geotechnical studies for us, site surveys for us. We have people who help us on environmental and social impact assessments. So these are the kinds of consultancies that we look for and that we work with once we have a project ongoing. The next project I'd like to talk about is one in the social sector. So this is a schools project also in Uzbekistan, where the government of Uzbekistan would like to provide schools, the physical schools, on a PPP modality. So this one is a little bit different in that the private sector will be working on the design, build, finance, and maintenance of the public schools themselves. the actual education services will still be handled by the public sector. So it's a bit different from the solar projects that I just mentioned earlier, but still quite interesting. And obviously we're still doing the same kind of support for the government here. So we are still doing feasibility study, we still develop tender documents, and we're there during the tender process itself. In terms of climate change, I just want to link this to the previous presentations. What's interesting is that this is a social project as clearly, but when ADB is taken on as advisor, we try to put in climate elements, even in sectors which aren't obviously climate related. So in the designs specifications for the schools, for example, we try to integrate climate change, climate resilience elements already. So that kind of expertise definitely would be appreciated when we do the feasibility study and tender documentation. So in terms of the water sector and wastewater sanitation sector, I'm showcasing 2 projects in Pakistan. So in Karachi, there is a water shortage. And so the government has created a program for several wastewater treatment plants to be tendered out under the PPP modality. So we've been asked to help on 2 of these. So first is the West Karachi Recycled Water Project. And the second one is the TP4. So this we expect will be launched this quarter, so quite soon. And because this is a very important sector, this is a very pressing need for the government. They have put in a lot of support to make sure that this project is bankable and that this project is sustainable. So this hopefully will help attract investors to come in. So this is also another, landmark project for not just for us, but for the country of Pakistan. Here we have Kazakhstan, another social project. We have the 300-bed Karaganda University Hospital. So this one is also the kind of engagement we have with the government of Kazakhstan is one where we started with more upstream work. So we were helping them starting with legislation. We helped them come up or introduce the infrastructure PPP model in their legislation. So that would, after that, basically they could come up with a pipeline of priority projects, and one of which is this university hospital. So this PPP is a design, build, finance, operate, and maintain structure, and it is under the infrastructure model limited service facility management. So this is quite different again because it's a social project, and much of the actual service itself will not necessarily come from the investor or the developer of the actual hospital. So in terms of timing, this is also going to launch, if not this quarter, next quarter. So this is also coming up quite soon. So the 2 transport projects that I wanted to share with you is both in the Philippines, one of which Noel mentioned earlier, which is the North-South Commuter Railway project. So this is a very long suburban rail, and it connects the northern part of Luzon to the southern part of Luzon here in the Philippines, and it crosses our capital, Metro Manila. So it's a very important suburban line. And the other one is the Metro Manila subway project, which is within Metro Manila, and they have an intersection, these 2 lines. An interesting feature of these two projects is that these will be tendered out under the hybrid PPP mode, where the construction and the development is done through a sovereign loan. So ADB and JICA will be funding the construction and development, and only the operations and maintenance will be tendered to the private sector. So that is interesting, and that is not always done, especially for big infrastructure projects like this. But ADB as a whole is working across several different departments to make sure that this is delivered to the country of the Philippines as in the best manner possible. So in terms of timeline, the launch of the tenders is expected this year, early this year, and project award would happen in about 12 months. So that would be early next year as well. In China, what I decided to feature would be one of the elderly care facilities that we are working on. We are working on several. Some are already ongoing, and this one is just about to be launched. So this still might be interesting for our audience. So Xiangyang Elderly Care Facility. This is, again, this is like all the other facilities that we've worked on in China, which is design, build, and operate as well. The ADB sovereign side will be lending a significant part of the construction cost. So that will help also ensure sustainability of the project. In terms of timing, they expect that RFP will be launched very soon, and in 12 months next year, the project should be awarded already. The last project I wanted to highlight is one that is slightly different from all the other projects that I just talked about. This is the Creating Investable Cities initiative that we have. This is more on the Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 work that we do, so much more macro and much more upstream. We are basically mainstreaming climate resilience into policies and projects of many different cities across Asia and the Pacific. So right now we have chosen, or we have screened and are starting discussions with 4 cities. One that might be interesting to our audience is Tbilisi, Georgia. So they're part of this program. They're one of the first to really signify their interest in this initiative. And so we are there to help them develop their enabling environment to encourage private sector participation in many different ways. We're also helping them build a pipeline. And we do this through project screening, and we're also going to help do a value for money analysis for them. And we will also be providing capacity building for the city leadership. So this has just begun. And we expect that in 12 months, we'll be able to select projects and prioritize which projects the government will start tendering out and developing and tendering out. So that ends my presentation, and I hope that piques the interest of our audience here. Over to you, Icon.
Thank you very much, Ms. Michelle. Now we are moving on to our final speaker today, Mr. Talat Nasirov. He will be talking about the procurement processes as well as how to locate business opportunities. Mr. Nasirov, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me open my presentation. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, dear participants. My name is Talat Nasirov. I am procurement specialist in ADB. Today, I will inform you about ADB procurement system and business opportunities for consulting companies, for contractors and suppliers. Here on this slide, you can see the content of my presentation. So I will cover 5 key topics indicated here. First of all, about ADB, some facts. ADB was established in 1966 with a headquarters in Manila. It has 68 shareholder member countries, 49 of them regional and 19 non-regional. ADB has over 3,000 staff, 29 resident missions, and 3 representative offices. Some people, they have a question why Manila was selected to be a headquarter. If you have such questions and many other questions, so I suggest you to read about ADB. On the right upper corner, there is a book which was dedicated to ADB's 50 years anniversary since establishment. So it's openly available on our website. You can download and read about ADB history, about policy, strategy, and other information is available there. On this slide, you can see our sovereign portfolio in 2021. So the total size of our portfolio was $104 billion. So you can see it by region. The largest portfolio is in South Asia, followed by Southeast, and then by Central Asia and other 2 our regions. So on the right side, you can see portfolio by sectors. The largest sector is transport, followed by energy, then water and urban infrastructure, and agriculture and other sectors. So in 2022, the total size of approved loans and grants was over $12 billion. And overall private sector portfolio is $14 billion. On this slide is some facts about Turkey and ADB. Turkey became a member of ADB in 1991. And since that time, the overall size of contracts signed or awarded to Turkish companies is $3.6 billion. So out of this amount, 3.5 billion is for goods and works, and 92.4 million is consulting services. In the first half of 2022, so we have also some statistics that $34.12 million was awarded for goods and works contracts, and $4.4 million for consulting services. So on this slide, you can see also the contracts awarded to Turkish company in terms of sectors and also countries. So the largest sector where Turkish companies work, transport, followed by public sector management, then energy, health, and water, and other sectors. And also the largest number of contracts is in Azerbaijan, followed by Georgia, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, and Uzbekistan. On this slide, I would like to inform you in more detail about our project cycle for sovereign operations. So in every borrowing country, we prepare a country partnership strategy. This is a long-term document, strategy for 5 years, which actually covers strategy for each sector with development targets in each sector. It also covers achievement targets for achievement sustainable development goals, also targets for climate change adaptation, so that all the strategy for 5 years usually is indicated in this our strategy. And based on that strategy, we prepare a pipeline of its investment projects for 3 years. So then for projects from the pipeline, we prepare project concept paper. And after that, once it's cleared by ADB management, then we provide technical assistance grant up to $1 million to prepare a project feasibility study. So usually we recruit consultants to help us with the preparation of feasibility study. So once we prepare a feasibility study together with the government, then we discuss it with them, sign a memorandum of understanding, and after that, we proceed with the loan negotiations. So once the loan negotiation is successful, then both sides, government and ADB, they approve this loan project on each side, and then we sign the loan agreement. After signing, we start project implementation. On this stage, we usually recruit the consultants to prepare a detailed design and for construction supervision and some other advisory support. We also procure civil works, supply of goods, and procurement of non-consulting services. Usually, the project implementation stage takes around from 5 to 7 years. And after implementation, we prepare a project completion review report. Also, we engage consultant for preparation of such reports. And then this report goes to our independent evaluation department for validation. And conclusions and recommendations indicated in such a project completion reports goes to our new country partnership strategy and also to our new projects. So this is a full cycle. Here, information from our procurement dashboard. You can see that the total size of contracts awarded in 2022 was over $10 billion. Here also information by region. So the largest region is again South Asia, followed by Southeast. And the largest, how to say, the type of procurement was procurement of other related services, but it mostly includes a budget support to the government. But the real information, you can see that the largest was Vox contracts for $2.9 billion, then followed by goods, and then the consulting services for $394 million. Here you can see the size of contracts by sector. So the largest two sectors are public sector management and health. And it was in 2022, again, because ADB support to respond to COVID-19 impact. The other sectors are water and other urban infrastructure, transport and energy, and other sectors. In 2017, ADB approved its new procurement framework. This procurement framework is a principle-based, user principle-based approach, and it has two key documents, which is ADB procurement policy and procurement regulations. So they are supported by 27 guidance notes to help our clients in each specific procurement cases. Depends on the type of procurement for works, for consulting services, non-consulting, and supply of goods, and some other specific cases, especially in terms of climate change adaptation and achievement of sustainable development goals. We have a specific guidance notes on sustainable public procurement, which is also available on our website. It can be easily downloadable. On this side, the ADB's and government roles in a procurement. The ADB's role, the key role is to ensure the compliance of the client with our procurement policy and regulations. So how we are doing it? We are doing it through prior and post review of procurement transactions done by the client. From the government side, the Ministry of Finance, usually actually the agency which signs the loan agreement with ADB and make a repayment of the loan, the principals and interest rates, while the executing agency, which is usually the sector ministry, they are responsible for overall project implementation and for the policy reforms. And implementing agency, which is usually sector or municipal agency, is directly responsible for project implementation and specifically for procurement. So they invite and evaluate bids, they sign and manage contracts, and they monitor performance of suppliers, contractors, and consultants. Here are four main types of opportunities, business opportunities. First is consulting services. So we are mainly engaged consultants for project preparation and implementation. It includes preparation of feasibility study, detailed design, construction supervision, project management, environmental and social safeguards, gender, knowledge products, policy reforms, advisory support. Then the next is the goods for supply of machinery, equipment, ICTs, hardware, furniture, and other goods. Next is works, mainly for construction and rehabilitation of roads, railways, bridge, irrigation, canals, schools, and other infrastructure. So as was mentioned before, we use for large contracts, FDIC contracts. For a facility and plants, we use the EPC contracts for design, installation and supply, or design and build contracts for power plants, pump stations, water treatment plants, heating plants, airports, and other facilities. So in the last one, non-consulting services, they are relatively small size contracts. So they are for procurement of standard surveys, studies, trainings, translation, ICT software, event management, and other similar non-consulting services. Here are information about business opportunities for consultants. So if you navigate our website, our general page, www.adb.org, then if you go to the Work With Us, there is a actually section which is consultants, and the consultants may actually navigate that by clicking, and it will bring to the next page, which is provides some instructions, guidance notes, and some tips to consultants how to become consultant for ADB finance projects, how to make a registration in our consultant management system. This is the only system which we use for recruitment of consultants. This is the electronic system. So the all information is provided there about eligibility, how to prepare expression of interest, how to prepare technical proposal, etc. Here is a link to the quick reference guide for consultants. This is specifically dedicated how to use our consultant management system. So the full information is provided there, how to make a registration on our CMS system, how to submit expression of interest, how to submit technical and financial proposal. All information, all instructions are in that quick reference guide. On this page, you can see this is a web page where we post all these tender opportunities. This is specifically for consultants. We call it consulting services recruitment notices. So here for every project, if we post contract assignments, so you can find it. It's also openly available. No need just to make a registration. Registration only needed in our CMS if our consultants wants to submit their expression of interest, and if shortlisted, submit their technical proposal. Otherwise, they can easily read it. So the full information is there. Mainly it's terms of reference provided there and estimated budget, and some information about experts' inputs also provided on that tender announcement. Sorry. Here are our 6 key selection methods which we use for recruitment of consulting firms. The first and main selection method is quality and cost-based selection. So we usually use the quality factor 80% and cost factor 20%, but sometimes it could be 90-10 or 70-30. It's followed by next selection method, which is a quality-based selection. This mainly based on the quality without considering the cost factor. Cost factor is negotiable with the first-ranked company. The second one is also qualification-based selection. We call it consultants qualification. It's more simplified. It's not so complex as a quality-based selection. Also, we negotiate the price with the first-ranked company selected based on its qualification. Next one is a fixed budget selection. It is also similar to quality-based selection, but the budget is fixed there. So if companies provide their price above the fixed price, so they will be rejected. So the next method is least cost selection. It's also the firms should pass 750 points for their quality. And then those firms who passed 750 points, so whoever from them will propose the least cost, so that company will be first ranked and invited for contract negotiation. The last one is a direct contracting, which we mainly use for small contracts, for emergency cases, or for some continuation of some services which has been already started, or something inclusive or innovative. So here are some tips for consulting firms. First of all, they should understand the country, project, and client requirements, carefully review and read terms of reference, and understand the scope of works. They may engage with other firms, national firms, or some specified firms to strengthen their capacity and experience. And once they feel confident, so they can express their interest. So once they shortlisted, they must carefully read RFP's instruction and complete all forms which are required. They should try to avoid conflict of interest, unfair competitive advantage, and corruption cases. They should look at eligibility requirements, so all firms shall be from ADB member countries. They are encouraged to visit the project site, and if they have any questions, any doubts, they must seek clarification in writing from the client. So they are expected to prepare responsive, strong technical proposal and competitive financial proposal. We strongly encourage them to be fair and honest with the client during contract negotiation and contract implementation. On the left side, you can see the user guide for consulting, for selection of consultants. So it's also available on our website. The link is provided also below. The next one is a business opportunity for suppliers and contractors. So it's also available on our general website. First, if suppliers and contractors want to get instructions how to participate in tenders, finance and ADB projects, so they can go to the link for contractors and suppliers. So it will bring them to the special page where they can find all that instructions, requirements on eligibility, on qualification and experience requirements, and on the bidding procedures. So all that instructions are available on this page. So the next page is brings you to again to open tenders, which we announced on our website. The access is free, so any contractor or supplier can go to that link and open this page where all tenders are listed there. We call them invitation for bids, so they can navigate it by country, by sector, by type of procurement. So on the left side, there is such a possibility to navigate. And then if they click to invitation for bids to the project, so then they can see the detailed information about qualification and experience requirements, about information about the client's address, where they can obtain the bidding documents, and the deadline for submission of bids. Here are some actually common mistakes which suppliers and contractors doing during the tender. Some of them submitting their bids late. Sometimes they include a financial and technical proposal in one envelope, and one stage, two envelope procedures, which is also condition for rejection of their bid, unfortunately. And sometimes their bids are not duly signed or with insufficient validity. Sometimes they fail to provide bid security, or their bid security is with insufficient amount or with insufficient validity. Sometimes we facing conflict of interest. For example, two subsidiaries of one mother company are participating in the tender. This is also subject for rejection them from the bidding. Sometimes firms or joint ventures are not from ADB member countries, so this is also subject for rejection there from the bidding. And in some cases, they fail to provide supporting documents to substantiate their qualification and experience. They submit incomplete, partial, or conditional bids. And in some cases, they do not prepare good method statement or very poor health and safety plan or site environmental management plan. We have cases where they submit unbalanced or abnormally low bid price. So we have specific also procurement guidance notes how to deal with such unbalanced and abnormally low bids. In some cases where we use adjustable contracts, they fail to provide price adjustment data such as source and weighting for adjustable indexes. And in some cases, so we can see that they provide some misrepresentation of information related to their financial capacity and experience. So this is also subject for our integrity department. So if we find that something wrong there and something like if we have a suspect that there is a corruption, so we usually report to our integrity department. So our recommendation, if the leaders, they have any questions or have any doubts, so anytime they should always seek clarifications from the client. So after bidding, once client submit their bid evaluation report and ADB provide no objection to contract award to successful bidder, then any unsuccessful bidder can request debriefing from the client. And in case if they are not happy with the debriefing, so they have option to submit complaint. So there are two options to submit a complaint. They can submit complaint to directly to the client with copy to ADB, or second option, they can submit their complaint directly to ADB. So below there is the link provided. There is a special form for complaint. So once they complete it, so this goes to ADB. And if there is any corruption case which they want to report, there is also special link. So they can go and report the fraud. And this goes directly to our integrity department, which is independent. In case if our suppliers, contractors, and consultants, they want just to receive some news, some about the tender opportunities, so they can just subscribe on our website. So here is also instruction how to do it. So they will get some updated information about ongoing tenders. So this is the end of my presentation. So for more information, our consultants can always visit ADB website, I mean contractors and suppliers as well. So there is a networks for consultants, for suppliers, and ADB Business Center on LinkedIn. And if there is some specific questions which I will not be able to reply today, so they can send that questions to my email, which is provided here. Thank you. This is end of my presentation. I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nasirov. Before we go into the Q&A session, may I ask all the speakers to open their cameras for a screenshot, please? Is Ms. O'Brien here? Okay. Thank you very much. Geldik bütünler, sorularınız varsa soru cevap bölümüne yazabilirsiniz. Ben yönlendiririm. Veya daha sonra e-mail ile paylaşabilirsiniz. E-mail üzerinden karşı tarafla paylaşabiliriz. I guess we don't have any questions at the moment. Murat Bey, would you like to add some final remarks?
Sure, Aycan. First of all, I would like to say thanks to all Asian Development Bank team. Thank you for your presentation and all explanation, because according to all the explanation today, what I receive and listen, I believe that most of them is not very well known in Turkey as well. So it is a good chance to explain what your bank is doing and how you support all around Asian countries. And of course, after Turkey contribute in the bank, also what about our relation, Turkish companies and your bank relations increase. And I hope coming year it's going to be more increase as well, because 2023 is one of the important year for Turkish Republic We are celebrating hundreds of years, so that's why it is going to be quite important for us. And definitely we focusing more to Asia and also Turkey, make the relation more closely. So that's why who listen to us today, they can send their question after that webinar. We will follow it up. We will take some of the presentation. So we will share with you, and we would like to be a bridge like Istanbul between ADB and Turkish private sector and the other people who interested with contact with you, let's say. So again, thanks to all of you. Thank you your time, and thank you your all explanations.
Thank you, Murat Bey. Before ending, I want to remind you that there will be a survey which I will be sharing with you later on. We appreciate if you can fill it in. This was our third meeting with ADB, Murat Bey, since 2020.
Yep.
So we have to organize this again in Istanbul, hopefully. Dear participants, thank you, and esteemed colleagues at ATV, we appreciate your support. Hope to see you again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hope to see more green world. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.